First of all, thank you for making the time for us. Just to give you a brief intro of who we are, we're NJS4E.com. It stands for New Jack Swing Forever. We've been around for about 5 years. Viacom, actually through VH1.com, named us the official New Jack Swing website, believe it or not, because we've been doing this for a while. For the hip-hop honors, they honored, in addition to a couple of other people, they honored the genre of New Jack Swing, and they basically specifically called out Teddy Riley and Andre Harrell. And for the website and all their promotions, they had us as, the honoree website for New Jack Swing. So, exciting time for us. The organizers of the tour reached out to us to help them spread the word about the tour, which is how we're talking to you right now. So I hope you know that right now you're not only talking to Chicago, which is where I am, but you're talking to London, you're talking to Amsterdam, you're talking to essentially the whole world who is plugged into New Jack Swing. You type in New Jack Swing, we're #1 on Yahoo, we're #3 on Google. We're definitely very excited and very plugged in to what you're about. So there it is.
All right, sounds good to me. Is this the same guy that hit me on MySpace?
As a matter of fact, that's my partner. It's probably Jode or VJ, Joe DeCidal. He told me to say what's up. Yep. He told me to say what's up. We've been working together since '05.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, he's my partner. He's my ace. He's the man. So I know that you guys have been speaking. And as a matter of fact, I know he wanted to do an interview with you, but he told me literally maybe 20 minutes ago, tell Marc I said hello and tell him that this interview is pretty much it. So we don't have to, unless we do a follow-up maybe during the tour, he's happy that this is happening. So.
That's cool.
All right. Well, let's get started, man. Wow. We're talking to Levert. You guys are definitely icons and legends in the game. And there's a couple of things I wanted to jump off with, but let me go with, I guess, the most relevant, which is how do you guys feel about being on this New Jack Swing tour right now?
Well, this is Sean talking right here. I think it's a great seller. I think, it's our time for, our age group to the fans to want to come out and see, what we doing for our age group, and it's, it's time for it.
All right.
It's right on time.
No doubt. Marc, how do you feel about the tour?
I think it's like a big reunion because we used to be out with Bobby back in the day, and you know what I mean, and a couple of them guys. So, we come up together. So it's gonna be like a big reunion. Okay.
Well, that's beautiful because I'm sure the people in the audience will feel the energy on stage. In between the years, the last time you guys went out on tour, have you been keeping in touch? Or is this literally like, high school? Like, wow, this person changed, or, what's it going to be like? And have you guys been speaking or rehearsing up to this point?
We just, after, we lost a big piece of the group when we lost my brother, Charles Levert. And before then, we had started recording the Levert album with Gerald. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to finish it. But, I think, it's just a new time and we want everybody to support us and just keep the support going. That's the same support that we were given before. We're going to sing, we're going to dance, we're going to do the same thing that we did before, with, Big G looking down at us.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure everyone has said so, and I'll say so because I'm speaking to you live, definitely was devastated to hear about that. I was lucky enough to see Gerald in concert. As a matter of fact, it was a New Jack tour sort of deal. It was in L.A. It was Guy, BBD, Johnny Gill, and Casey and JoJo. And during Johnny Gill's set, Gerald came out. And the crowd went nuts, and he went into "Baby Hold On to Me," and
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was bananas, and
I can imagine. I've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah. So I feel like
we just hope the people come out and it's time for our age group group, just like, my dad and the OJs, how they've been on the road with, the Whispers and the OJs, the Isley Brothers, and, they do this tour, all the time.
Right.
So, that's for their age group. So now it's time for our age group to see, who they were listening to back in the day, and bring it back.
No doubt. And actually, I'm sure you're familiar with some of these video games like Grand Theft Auto, but believe it or not, there's a lot of young cats out there who are getting into this. We're talking 16, 17, 18 years old, who are getting into this as well. So you might see some youngins in the crowd as well. But one question I did want to ask you actually was about, our age group and the fans. I mean, when I think of a Levert fan, there was one gentleman, who was part of our community. He was a police officer, actually, out in Ohio. And he was, he had every album. He had every Gerald Levert album. I mean, could you talk to NJS Forever about, who your fans are? I mean, and I know you probably can't necessarily just put them in a box, but, talk to us about who a typical Levert fan would be, in your opinion.
The big women. We got a lot of big women fans. We love the big girls. We got a lot of big women fans.
All right.
I would say the big girls. They like our music. And, just women in particular. The women and fellas, we did it all. Because we went from, a lot of people don't know that a lot of our songs were up-tempo records. Even though they call us, a balladeer group, a lot of the songs that was number one were up-tempo records.
Absolutely.
But, that's how, the fellas know about us,
Uh-huh.
A lot of people don't know that. And I think, that's something that they'll see, in the future, that we're going to put out some more up-tempo records.
Okay.
We're not all the way balladeers. Yeah, but the fellas like to get down with the slow joints, too. They done made a few babies.
No doubt.
About them. They just, they just saving for the, for the night time.
I want to touch on that actually, because of course Casanova's playing in my head. I've got Rope-a-Dope Style playing in my head right now. I guess one question, because I got a lot of questions from the people affiliated with the website, a lot of them international. So one question would be, and I think I know the answer to this one, but we'll let you speak on it. What was Travell Productions, and is it still happening right now?
Travell was a production company that